Prince Harry has said racism from the tabloid press in this country that filtered into the rest of society was a large part of why he and his wife left the UK. He told Oprah Winfrey that the UK tabloid media is bigoted and creates a toxic environment of control and fear. He said he thought the Prince of Wales had been forced to make peace with it. Last night's interview on ITV, by the way, was watched by more than 11 million people here in the UK. Let's talk now to Ian Murray, the Executive Director of the Society of Editors, an organisation which was set up to fight to protect press freedoms. Hello to you, Mr Murray.
Good morning.
Are some British tabloid newspapers bigoted?
No, they're not. And what we're seeing here is the tragic story of the family at war, as we know, and your heart goes out to the Duchess in particular, talking about her mental health problems that's there. But the accusation that Harry and Meghan say that they left Britain in part because of racism towards them, but the accusation that this was caused by sections of the British media who are racist, I'm afraid is just not true, and it's not borne out by the evidence of the coverage.
Can I give you some evidence, Mr Murray? Daily Star ran a headline asking whether Harry would be marrying into gangster royalty. The Mail Online had a headline which declared Meghan was almost straight outta Compton.
Well, I mean, Compton, I'm not au fait completely with areas of that maybe in California.
It's a black gangster stereotype. It's a black gangster stereotype, Mr Murray.
I think that was,
do you think those two headlines are racist?
Victoria, if you're not going to let me even answer you when you've asked the question, please,
Go ahead.
Thank you. The question that we raised there basically is saying, look, here is I hate to use the term rags to riches story, and it was the same with anyone that comes in from outside into the royal family who aren't royal or nobility, that they've raised up in that way. But I think you've got to look at this whole thing in the context. Is this saying that the coverage that has been given to Meghan in particular, but to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, than any perceived negative coverage that has come about? And this follows a huge groundswell of positive coverage that came when Meghan was first started dating and then engaged and then married to Prince Harry. Amazing amount of positive coverage, which reflected the warmth of the British people towards this couple. But then there was some negative coverage that came in when the couple began to set out their stall. I'm not going to use the word preach and talk about things close to their heart, the environment, etc., and questions being asked of are they living up to the ideals that they're putting forward. To say that negative. That is racist and particularly targeted because Meghan is a woman of colour. I'm afraid that's not borne out by the truth. You just have to look at the way that the royal family has been covered for decades. It's not as though the royal family have been given an easy ride by the British media. They have held them and others to account, and you cannot say that the coverage and the investigations into Prince Philip, Princess Anne, Edward and Sophie.
Yeah, Harry and Meghan were just talking about the coverage of themselves. Can I ask you about those headlines again? The Star asked whether Harry would be marrying into gangster royalty.
I'm not going to defend one headline.
Sorry, Mr Murray, you just told me. Excuse me. Please, may I speak? Please, may I ask the question?
The huge amount of coverage.
Mr Murray, you can continue talking over me. But I want
2 examples and say, look, here's something that someone might point to and say, so therefore that means that
you told me, Mr Murray, you told me the British tabloid press was not bigoted. I've just given you some examples. You're denying that those examples are racist. And I'm asking, why are you denying that?
Well, and I'm making the plain to Victoria that what we're saying, I'm not defending individual things here and there. I'm looking at the whole thing. When you say that someone might make one comment about something, and I'm not saying whether those were bigoted or racist at all.
Well, let me ask you, as the Society of Editors...
I never get the chance to actually finish, Victoria, my point. When you actually label someone as bigoted because of one example that is disputed, and actually say, and not taking the whole thing into context and saying, look at the way that they have covered it. I'm afraid that's if you keep on looking, you will find that needle in the haystack.
Right, but you just told me that the British press isn't racist, and now you're saying if you keep on looking, you will find a racist needle in the haystack. So let me ask you again, are those headlines racist? Simple yes or no.
I'm not going to stand to defend and say whether they are not. What the context is,
well, I haven't got the context in front of
me. Sorry, Victoria, you know full well, because you are a journalist, you've got to see the context.
Well, let me give you some context then, please.
Out of things, and I'm not saying whether they are
right.
or they aren't.
Well, let me give you some context then. The headline, which suggested that Meghan was almost straight out of Compton, underneath says, Prince Harry's new girl, Suits star Meghan Markle, is from Crenshaw, LA. Crenshaw has endured 47 crimes in the past week, including murder. Gangs, including the Bloods, count the neighbourhood as their territory. Markle's social worker mum, Dora Ragland, lives in the rundown area, and the actress's aunt is in a nearby gang-afflicted Inglewood. Is that racist? Are they racist stereotypes?
I'm saying I can't say that is racist. It's a straightforward rags to riches story about saying factually, if it is factually correct, that it is that's the background to Meghan Markle. I don't know whether it's factually correct or not.
In 2016, a report by the European Commission against racism and intolerance found that hate speech amongst traditional media, particularly tabloid newspapers in this country, continues to be a problem. Do you not see that at all?
Do I not see what at all? Do I not see that? Do I agree with their findings? That I have not read that report recently. I'm not going to say that I completely agree with their findings. I need to look further into it, but it's what they're actually basing this on.
Do you think there's a difference between someone like yourself, a white man, the Society of Editors, contemplating racism on an intellectual level, and black people experiencing it on a daily basis?
I would say that I'm not bringing my race or background into this. I would say that if I'm asked whether the last sections of the British media, the tabloid press, are racist, I would say no, they are not. And some extremely decent journalists, many of which you probably know, who work on the papers that are being pointed at, would be horrified, shocked and disappointed to have that levelled against them.
A report by the Reuters Institute for the Study of Journalism in 2016 found that just 6% of journalists across UK newsrooms don't identify as white. That's a problem, isn't it?
That is a problem. There's a problem throughout the whole of the industry.
And do you think that could lead to potentially racist coverage?
You're going for cause and effect. The industry,
I'm asking you,
realises and recognises that has a challenge and is taking steps, and that the Society of Editors has been working on that and has been supporting and has an initiative that is working with others on that matter. No one is pretending that that is not good enough.
Do you think the lack of diversity in newsrooms might contribute to racist coverage on occasion?
I know you're trying to trap me into saying something.
I'm really not. It's a very open question.
I'm not going to say, because if I say that, it's a case of, therefore you're admitting that there is that. That we do know.
It's not about admitting. It's about facing up to issues that we've got in the mainstream media in this country.
What issues that we don't have a greater diversity within newsrooms, absolutely.
And that it could potentially lead to racist coverage on occasion.
I'm not going to go so far as to say that, because you're trying to put words into my mouth with that.
I'm not.
Everyone would wish that the media in this country better reflects the diverse country that we are becoming.
OK. I'd like to give you some more headlines and tell me what you think is going on here. This is from the Daily Mail. Kate, not long to go now, pregnant Kate tenderly cradles her baby bump while wrapping up her royal duties ahead of maternity leave. Again from the Daily Mail. Why can't Meghan Markle keep her hands off her baby bump? Is it price, vanity, acting, or a new age bonding technique? This from the Daily Express. Kate's morning sickness cure? Prince William gifted with an avocado for pregnant Duchess. Again from the Daily Express. Meghan Markle's beloved avocado linked to human rights abuses and drought. And one more, again from the Daily Mail. Carol wins granny war. Duke and Duchess of Cambridge will spend second private Christmas with the Middleton family rather than joining the Queen at Sandringham. In the Daily Mail, doesn't the Queen deserve better than this baffling festive absence? Richard Kay examines the impact of Harry and Meghan's decision not to spend Christmas with the royal family. What's going on there, do you think?
That's going on there, reporting as individual stories, and I can't comment and take them out of context there, but I don't see anything. What we're discussing here is whether there is racism in the coverage, and I see no evidence of racism in that coverage. And it's unfair, it's sort of you to put me on the spot with bringing up headlines out of context. I don't know what the stories are, and I'm
sorry,
not
you're
going
the
to defend,
Society of Editors.
stories.
You represent your members. That's why I thought you were coming on to talk to us today.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we are diving into a moment that perfectly captures everything that is broken, not just strained, not just flawed, but fundamentally broken about the British media ecosystem. And no, this is not only about how that system treats Prince Harry and Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. It is about what happens when power is questioned, when institutions are asked to look in the mirror, and when lived experience threatens a carefully protected hierarchy. Because after the Oprah Winfrey interview aired, Prince Harry said something that should have triggered introspection, accountability, and honest public debate. Instead, it triggered panic, defensiveness, a closing of ranks so fast and so aggressive that it told us far more than any denial ever could. Prince Harry stated something profoundly simple, that racism in the tabloid press does not exist in isolation. It does not stay neatly confined to headlines and opinion columns. It filters into society. It shapes attitudes. It emboldens hostility. It normalizes dehumanization. And in doing so, it creates environments that become unsafe not just emotionally, but physically for the people being targeted. Pause there. Because that statement is not radical. It is not extreme. It is not new. In fact, it is foundational. This is Media Studies 101. Narratives influence perception. Repetition creates normalization. Framing matters. Headlines matter. Dog whistles matter. Scholars have written entire volumes on this. Universities have entire departments built around this reality. This is not controversial knowledge, unless, apparently, a royal dares to say it out loud. And the moment Prince Harry articulated this truth, something fascinating happened. The conversation did not turn toward reflection. No one asked whether coverage had gone too far. No one examined patterns. No one asked why Meghan was treated so fundamentally differently from every other woman who married into the institution. Instead, we got denial. Immediate, absolute, arrogant. Enter Ian Murray, Executive Director of the Society of Editors, appearing on BBC News to rush to the defence of the British press. According to him, Prince Harry's claim that the press engaged in bigotry was, and this is important, just not true. That sentence, that reflex, is the story. Because rather than asking how coverage contributed to public hostility, rather than acknowledging impact even without intent, rather than listening, the institution did what institutions so often do when confronted with accusations of systemic bias. It rejected reality. And for black viewers, for people of colour, for anyone who has ever tried to calmly articulate racism in a professional, measured way, this moment felt painfully familiar. This is the script. You describe your lived experience. You are told it didn't happen. Your tone is questioned. Your credibility is scrutinized. The institution absolves itself. Conversation over. And that is why this moment mattered. Because what was exposed was not Harry and Meghan. What was exposed was the emotional illiteracy of the institution itself. At no point did Ian Murray say, "We may not have intended harm, but we acknowledge impact." At no point did he say, "Perhaps we should listen." At no point did he say, "We could have done better." Instead, the message was simple and chilling. We reject your reality. And this is precisely why people say racism is not only about slurs or explicit hatred. It is about power deciding which experiences count and which are dismissed as inconvenient. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the palace, because the British press did not simply criticise Meghan. It relentlessly dehumanized her. Same actions, different headlines, same behaviour, different moral judgment. Kate eats avocado toast, she's health conscious and glowing. Meghan eats avocado toast, she's destroying the planet. Kate cradles her bump maternal and tender. Meghan cradles her bump attention-seeking. Kate wears expensive jewellery sentimental. Meghan wears her own jewellery materialistic. This was not coincidence. This was pattern. This was conditioning. This was narrative engineering. And when Prince Harry finally called it out, the press did not pause. It retaliated. Because here is another uncomfortable truth that rarely gets said out loud. Attacks on Harry and Meghan tend to intensify at very convenient moments. Moments when scrutiny should be elsewhere. Moments when uncomfortable questions resurface. Moments involving lawsuits, settlements, and institutional silence that demands explanation. The Sussexes became the lightning rod, absorbing outrage so the system could breathe. So, ask yourself this. Why is press freedom only invoked when the powerful are criticised, but never when marginalised people are harmed? Why is objectivity claimed while bias goes unexamined? Why is Prince Harry's first-hand testimony dismissed outright, while anonymous palace briefings are treated like gospel? Because this is not about truth, it is about protecting hierarchy. And that is why this interview felt so clarifying, so calm, so revealing. There was no shouting, no theatrics, just a polished, professional refusal to acknowledge reality, which is often the most dangerous form of denial. The British press wants the world to believe that being called racist is more offensive than racism itself. But the world has changed. Audiences are global now. Receipts are permanent. And people are no longer willing to be gaslit by institutions that refuse accountability. Harry and Meghan did not attack the press. They survived it. They spoke about it. And then, crucially, they walked away. And that, more than anything else, is what the institution cannot forgive. So when editors rush to defend themselves, when denial replaces dialogue, when empathy is nowhere to be found, remember this. This is not journalism under threat. This is power being questioned. And people saw it, people heard it, people understood it. No spin required.